All right, so today we are covering OBS. Now, OBS is a free recording software. It is heavily used by thousands and thousands of people. It is hands down probably the best free software that you can possibly get, in just how many features you can use with it. OBS, if you don't know, stands for Open Broadcast Software. It is, yes, it's just really good. So we will be covering how to set it up and my personal use for it and things like that. So first, once you install OBS, which the link should be in the description below, and if you just wanted to look it up on YouTube or on OBS, let's say, take that back, look it up on Google, just search OBS, you should find it. It should be at the top. First thing you want to do is select your display capture. So if you are just doing general recording like I am right now, this one is the one you want to go with. It will capture which display you want to use. So if you have a second one, you can go over your properties and select your display 2. But obviously I'm using my display 1. If you want to do gaming and such like that, you would do game capture. And then you select down here to capture a specific window, and then select which game you are wanting to record. And then the next one you probably could use is window capture. This one makes it so you can capture a specific window and only that window. So like if I just wanted to select OBS over here, then I can select that, or do a drop down menu and select a different software to record. That is the first part of just capturing the display. Next thing you could do is mess with your audio. So my mic is currently set as just the default one your Windows has. So in my previous voice meter tutorial, I showed you guys how to set up aux, which is what I use personally for my audio. So if I select aux, now it's using the aux thing from voice meter right here as my audio, my mic, and then I'll go over here to properties and do VAIO, which is back over here as my headphones and my audio and my desktop audio. So that's that. The next thing you could want to do, if you use Discord, Skype, if you use Zoom, if you use TeamSpeak, all those different variations of VoIP that I call them, you would select them down here and select which one you want them to pick up, which I have them set to aux, which is the other version of my mic one, but this one only picks up the desktop aux. That's why it's labeled voice. The other aux I use is for my audio, which is B2. So that is a thing so this would be considered Discord. So let me rename this just so it doesn't get confusing. Discord. All right. So the next thing that I suggest to do would be to go over here into settings. First, you want to go down to output. So depending on whether or not you do streaming or recording, kind of doesn't matter which one you do first, but me personally, I'm just going to do recording first. So the way this works is, first you need to set up the recording path. So this is where the files will go on your computer when you're done recording. Next, you want to do recording format. I use MP4, but there's a downside of using MP4 is that if you lose power, if your computer turns off mid recording, you will lose that file. But if you use something like MKV, which will prevent that, as you see that yellow text disappear, then that is the bonus. But a lot of editing software tend not to support it, or at least the one I use doesn't, so I use MP4 to negate that. Next thing you want to look at is encoder. So you could use 264, which is kind of like a generic version of or generic encoder. But if you have a GeForce or like NVIDIA graphics card, then you would select this one for the best performance. And then if you have like a AMD graphics card, then there's an AMD version that should show up in this drop-down menu. Next thing you want to mess with is CBR, which is the rate control. You want to leave this alone. Bitrate, you probably should crank it up to about 6,000. Probably more. I think I have mine set to about 9,000 potentially. Depending on your computer strength and like what quality you want, you could do max quality. If you have a pretty good computer, you could do performance. If you have a like slower computer or any of these other settings, the lower you go down, obviously the I guess worse the quality but better performance. All this right here, the GPU max B frame, leave that all alone. Next thing I'm gonna have you guys to look at, if this interests you, is audio tracks. So what this does is make it so that all your audio sources are on different tracks. So for example, audio track 1 uses, or you can have it set as your desktop audio, for example, and then at audio track 2 could be your mic, audio track 3 could be Discord, and then audio track 4 could be your music. And then I have 6 selected as all of them combined into one, and I'll explain in a second why I have that. But you can go over here to audio and name them the different tracks to what they use for an audio bitrate. I have them all labeled like this. I also have track 5 as my alert sound, so when I'm streaming, that's the track that it goes to. It doesn't really matter, you don't really have to do that. And then to look at or to set those tracks up to actually do these specific audio sources, you go to Advanced Audio Properties by clicking on the gear and then going to Advanced Audio Properties. And then over here on the right side of the screen, you can obviously see these boxes right here. So you would select for desktop audio track 1 and unselect all of these and leave 6. And then for Discord, you would unselect 1 and 2, leave 3, and then undo 4 and 5. And then for mic, you would do 2, and then uncheck everything else but 6. And the reason why I leave 6 alone is because Windows does this thing, or at least my computer does this thing, where it can't support multiple audio tracks. So if you view it on like the Windows video viewer, it will have no audio until you put it into your editor. So having 6 have all of the audio makes it so that Windows will focus on the 6th track and then you can hear it. But this means when you're in the editor, you want to get rid of this track because it will cause an echo. The next thing, or next reason why I have track 6 selected is because when you go to output and streaming only supports one track. So you can only select one of the 6 tracks. And if you select only one, then you can't hear your voice or Discord. So I have 6 selected as my streaming track because it has all of the audio, so then the stream hears all the audio that is going on. So that's another reason why that is a pretty big thing I do. I stream and record. And if you guys want to see what I'm talking about, or me streaming and recording, my other channel is linked below. The next thing you can look at is over here in video. I have a 1920 by 1080 monitor, so I tend to record in that. You can technically upscale to be like in 4K or whatever, but I think it's just not worth it unless you're trying to do a very cinematic and in real life like thing. But other than that, I don't think there's any reason. I have FPS, so your average FPS of the video, excuse me, to 60 FPS, but if you have a slower computer, you could do 30. Either one are pretty good. 30 obviously is a little bit choppier than 60, but you know. The next thing you can look at is setting up a hotkey. So for streaming, I have Control F9 set up as my hotkey, and then for recording, I have my scroll lock set. And the reason why I have my scroll lock set as my recording is because on my keyboard, a low light will come up. Most keyboards do it. A low light will show up when you hit the scroll lock. So when I see that light on, that means I'm recording. It's a little like trick I learned at one point. I never really explained here. For the streaming, you pretty much want to set up the same settings as your recording, depending on how your internet is. If your internet is on the lower side, you might want to lower some of your settings because that will make the stream run smoother. The smoothness on the streams tend to be the most priority, as long as you're not cutting out and all that. So the next thing for streaming is I use Restream, which is a service that makes it so that you can stream to YouTube and Twitch at the same time, or even a bunch of other plethora of streaming services and platforms. So my streaming server is set to Restream, which I go to custom, and then I can do I can go to service and then it's just select custom, or you could do Restream, but I just select custom and then put the server and the stream key in there. Obviously I can't show you that because that's something that needs to be left out. But yes, that is the main things I use OBS for. There's other little things like there's scenes, so if you want to have a specific scene for recording, if you want to have a specific scene for streaming, you can switch between those scenes and they will change what's going on here. So if you want to overlay on one and then when you're recording you have no overlay, that kind of thing. Other thing that has been recently added to OBS is virtual camera. So virtual camera is a thing that is like a third party almost in between from your camera to your voice sharing VoIP, aka like Discord, Skype, that kind of thing, where it makes it so that you can change your camera before it gets to everyone else. So you can add filters, you know, that kind of thing. And it also makes it so you could add, like, for example, text on your camera. So if I just added this and then just typed in test, this would show up on your face if this was your camera, and it will show up in this big box. So that's another feature that is added or recently added in OBS. I believe that is the biggest feature that I think has been added. Obviously you can make scene transition fades, so like from when you change like scenes, it will fade easier. Here is my main scene that I use for everything. So this is my recording one. Then I have an intro for my stream. I have my streaming one, and then I have my other channel, which is the game rack, which is also going to be linked in the description if you want to check that out, for streaming, and then the game rack record, and then I also have my virtual camera that I can use. But yes, that is the different things you can do with OBS. It's a very versatile software and I love it to death. Yes, I hope you guys found this helpful, and I will talk to you guys in my next tutorial / video. Thank you guys. Talk to you in the next one.